Here is Talulah. It's been about a year since I did my greatest clear of all time, R88, but Talulah commits 7 counts of arson and 50 counts of first-degree manslaughter. Instead of dissecting kits and coming up with hypothetical scenarios and all of that, I thought it'd be more interesting to analyze a clear since it's more application-based and not theory. So here we go. Let's get into it. Congratulations on becoming an operator, Talulah. There's not much for you to do right now, so just be on standby, I guess. I mean, even though you bribed your way in with the Fumo, I'm pretty sure you're still qualified. Fighter Talulah sucks. She has 15,000 health and deals 600 arts damage per attack. Talulah has a special attack, Burning Breath, that deals increasing sheer damage over 30 seconds on an enemy for a total of 10,300 damage. It has a cooldown of 20 seconds, and she can't stack it on the same enemy until it runs out. Now, if this was an operator of Rhodes Island, they'd be slightly underwhelming damage-wise, and that's fine. What makes Fighter Talulah the worst possible damage source on Terra, despite her Jedi backstory, is the fact that her range is only 1.5 tiles, meaning she will have to be in kissing range of every enemy before she does a basic attack on them. To make it even more grueling, Talulah has a 5-second action interval, which makes her DPS very low. The only thing that makes this even remotely possible is the Originium tile at the start. All Originium tiles give the same buff, which is a plus 50% attack and plus 50 attack speed buff. This makes Talulah deal 900 arts damage per auto, but it doesn't increase her damage on the Burning Breath ability because that's a set DOT type thing. The tile also increases her attack speed, remember, so instead of a 5-second action interval, it lowers it down to 3.333. The buff from the Originium tile is the same across all stages, but the aspect that differs from stage to stage is the amount of HP loss per second it gives. In R88's case, the Originium tile does very minimal damage, only 14 HP per second. Doing some basic math, you divide Talulah's 15k HP by 14 HP per second, and you get 1071. This means she has 1071 seconds to live as soon as she touches a tile, so assuming Talulah takes no damage from the enemies, we need to make sure the bodies are buried in basically around 1000 seconds. So you go onto PRTS maps and see if the last enemy spawns before 1000, and they do, and that's very awesome. On to the enemies. There are only 2 different kinds, thankfully. Technically 3 if you're a nerd and a loser, but it's literally a reskin with stronger stats, so shut up, okay? All the enemies on this map deal physical damage, so Talulah's 50 arts res stat is irrelevant. Her defense is what we want to focus on, and my girl is more fragile than attack speed plus 120. Attack 2 targets simultaneously. Frozen enemies within attack range remain frozen until the skill ends. She has 350 defense, making her ultra 1-ply toilet paper thin. The weakest enemy on this map are the paratroopers. 3 come down at set intervals in each block of the stage, meaning we have to time Talulah's pathing so that she kills them as she's walking around the map. Talulah can't walk backwards, so if an enemy lives with a single HP, you gotta remake your entire plan, or at least adjust the timing on her pathing. Thankfully, we can use Talulah's autos to mainly kill these guys. They have 350 attack, and recalling the Draco Woman's 350 defense, the Ursus Crossbowmen basically deal no damage to her. Awesome. The only other enemy are the drones, and their redder counterpart. These guys suck. 13,000 health, 1,000 attack, and 15 arts res, so Talulah's arts damage autos will deal half the damage to them. The elite versions have 16,000 health and deal 1,200 damage. The strategy demands that Talulah lights these flying toilets on fire with her Burning Breath ability because it deals so much total damage. We also really want to avoid drone shots on Talulah. If the enemy is unblocked, they'll prioritize her, and since the drones are the only unblockable enemy that deal meaningful damage to her, we need to use some sort of taunt to divert their attacks away from Talulah. You might be wondering if Talulah is healable or buffable. Surely something like Scald's Rest 1 or Angelina's passive can heal her, right? No! Talulah is a neutral unit and only operators can affect allies at best. This means the only thing we can do to directly help Shen's sister is debuff the enemy with weakening or fragile to make her do more damage. The only saving grace is that when Talulah reaches below half her health, she gains 50% increased defense and arts resistance, which considering her defense is only 350, that means nothing. But the bigger part of this buff is that her Burning Breath ability gets a halved cooldown from 20 seconds to 10. This is absolutely massive since Talulah's range is very short, so we don't have a very good time window to kill the enemies. By getting Talulah to half health, she gets to light enemies on fire and then walk on her way as they scream and burn to death. Alright, Talulah. Where is Talulah right now? She's making Molotovs and throwing them at the neighbors? What? Oh god, I better find her right away. That's most of the research done for this stage, so now let me explain the squad. We're doing Talulah 100% damage, okay? No using Tech Salter like a maniac because, ooh, it's too hard to kill these enemies, boo-hoo. No cheating like Vanguard Texas S2 stun or Project Red S2 stun with their, ooh, it's basically negligible damage and Talulah gets the kill anyways. If any operator gets a single smidget of an auto on an enemy, it's over, restart. This clear requires a lot of redeploying, so 2 flag bearers are necessary for DP. However, Psylocke is actually on S3 because we need Fragile. Saria S3 is there for arts damage amp, and Suzerain should be self-explanatory. Talulah does piss damage, so Magellan is there to bind and slow to make sure all the enemies die before they reach the blue box. Phantom here is infinitely better than your stupid Tex Alter or Yato Kirin because of his clone. Also, they weren't even released when I did this clear, but a win is a win for Phantom, honestly. Nightingale is here for her cages, which inherently have taunt but lose HP over time, and Sculptor S1 sustains these cages for longer so Talulah doesn't get carpet bombed into oblivion. Bison functions similarly to Nightingale's cages, but he's literally the only other operator that has taunt without some sort of reflect when taking damage, and there ain't no way I'm letting any of these ops touch the enemies. He also doesn't attack when his skill is up, so I don't have to worry about him getting a sneaky auto in. That's most of the squad explained, except for Conviction, Gladian Cliffheart, and Kafka. These ops have niche usages, but let's start with the MVP of the entire run, Kafka. Sleep is such a powerful crowd control effect in this clear because it serves 2 very significant purposes. The first is redirecting Talulah's Burning Breath ability. Burning Breath deals a total damage of 10,000, and over half of that damage would go to waste if she just ignited a paratrooper. We need Talulah to target the UFOs specifically with that ability because they're the more menacing HP pool, and that means Kafka's Sleep can be used to make Talulah focus the right enemy. The drones have 50 arts res too, which is more than the 20 of the Ursus crossbowmen, so the true damage is much more valued on them. The second reason Sleep is goated is not letting operators deal damage to enemies. Psylocke S3 gives damage amp, but it has a single instance damage AoE that comes with it. All we need to do is sleep the enemies, and to maximize the fragile that Psylocke gives, press her skill 3.9 seconds after I deploy Kafka so that the flag lands while the enemies are slumbered to avoid damaging them. Kafka's Sleep also enables Cliffheart and Gladia to shift enemies without damaging them. Shifting is important to this clear because of how slow Talulah walks and her targeting. Talulah has the same default targeting as every operator, which is closest to the blue box. The issue is that she stops moving whenever she's attacking, and she'll prioritize the drones that are flying directly above the exit since those are closest to the blue box. Pulling the paratroopers into Talulah's range forces her to focus on them. The force also has to be some sort of pull, because if you try pushing the enemies while they're sleeping, this happens. Conviction is the last member of the squad I have to explain, and even though the answer is obviously to stun Suzerain, it's why I needed to stun Suzerain that isn't so obvious. Suzerain actually gets her skill before the paratroopers drop down, so you can technically just press her skill button before them, but you actually don't get enough damage amp on the drone if you do that since she ends it too early, which is why Conviction is there. Conviction stun is to make sure Suzerain's skill gets delayed so Talulah can make as much use of it as possible. It also distracts the bottom drone away from Suzu, so you don't get Hydrogen Bomb versus Coughing Baby. The most important lesson I learned from this clear was getting frame-perfect deployments to cycle neutral and enemy skills correctly. Usually when people say frame-perfect in Arknights, they refer to some timing that's really tight, but not exactly frame-perfect. Well, this stage requires an actual frame-perfect deployment. Here, I'll play it and see if you can catch it. It doesn't look too odd, but let's play it side by side to an incorrect deployment timing. There's the difference. Here's how neutral and ranged enemy skills work. If something appears in their range, they have the option to either do a ranged attack or their ranged skill if they have one, depending on what frame that thing appears. In this clear, doing that specific Phantom clone timing makes Talulah use her Burning Breath ability instead of an auto on the Paratrooper. Thankfully, Talulah is unblockable, but if you were to block a ranged enemy that has a melee attack, when they had their skill up, they will be forced to do their melee attack before doing their skill. Always. This specific mechanic matters a lot because it gives you control over your enemy's attack patterns, letting you plan out the stage much more easily. We need Talulah to use her Ignite immediately so that it cycles in time for the drone that she approaches on the top right. But even though I know what frame to release Talulah so that she can aggro the enemy and get a proper Burning Breath, I can't control what time Talulah does her Ignite. It's only on that specific frame that she will do her ability at the start. This means I have to delay her walking by just a bit after she clears the first box, which is why Phantom is deployed with this timing to break this barricade. That's basically it though, just cycle damage amps for every paratrooper trio that comes down and you're good. Obviously, this video simplified the solution finding process by a lot, and actually coming up with these ideas took about 3 months of on and off planning. Getting the skill timings down was also another journey entirely by itself, but you guys know how to press buttons at the right time. It's like OSU or something. Without a doubt, I can say that this clear is the peak of my gameplay. It hits the nail on everything I strive for in a gameplay video. A downright insane concept with borderline psychopathic ideas, and most importantly, it's flashy. What I respect the most in any clear are the ideas. I don't enjoy a lot of high-end clears nowadays due to all the simplification the game has been doing, so this video is my stand against power creep and giving it the big middle finger. No pressing win our skills and then going to r/Arknights for the next 30 seconds, no having a seizure and dropping Tex Alter on the boss. Anyone can do skill activations at the right time with enough stats, but to come up with a strategy truly novel, now that takes skill. I tried doing more zero damage clears like this one, but they've all come out mediocre because I already know the solution is Shifter and Sleep Stall. The sole reason R88 was interesting was because Talulah is a moving damage source that you had to protect, and it's too bad HG isn't releasing more stages like this. R811 is another possible stage for Talulah to solo, but there's too many things wrong with that stage that would make the hypothetical solution boring to watch. Anyways, I hope you learned something from me explaining this clear, even though now that I think about it, most of the application used in this video is pretty much useless for the majority of you watching this, but oh well, see ya. Talulah, what the hell have you been up to? Wait, where are the Molotovs? Wait, so you haven't been committing 7 counts of arson? Yeah, of course. Hanging out with your sister is very important.